Hey y'all, good afternoon. Welcome to I Can't Make This Stuff Up. Nobody can tell my story better than me. Today's episode is When Fear Holds the Microphone. This episode is a little different. Normally we're laughing, unpacking life, talking through situations, and trying to make sense of this journey together. But today I have to have an honest conversation. A conversation about fear, about anxiety, about trauma, about depression, about mental health. Because the truth is, it's all real. And whether we admit it or not, so many of us are carrying things nobody else can see. Recently, a friend of mine shared that she wasn't doing well. We talked about grief, about loss, about feeling alone, about not having the motivation to even do the simplest things. She said there were days she couldn't even bring herself to complete paperwork that was important. She didn't have the energy, the capacity. She just wasn't okay. As she talked, I listened. But while I was listening to her, I started hearing pieces of me. Not because our stories are identical, because they aren't, but because I know what it feels like to survive instead of live. I know what it feels like to smile on the outside while your mind is fighting battles nobody else can see. And I realized something. This episode isn't really about my friend. Truly, it's about all of us. Because somewhere along the way, many of us learn how to keep functioning while silently hurting. Years ago, I went through one of the hardest seasons of my life. I fell into a depression that lasted for about 2.5 years. Looking back, I can honestly say I got through it. I smiled again, eventually. I laughed again. I went back to working, started dreaming again. From the outside, it looked like I had healed. But recently, I've realized something. I realized that the depression lifted, but some of the fear stayed, and that fear became louder than it had ever been before. I've been learning that trauma doesn't always leave visible scars. Sometimes it changes the way you experience life. It changes how you trust. It changes how you love. It changes how you interpret silence. It changes how you respond to uncertainty. It changes the stories you tell yourself before you even know the truth. I've realized something else. Fear doesn't always sound afraid. Sometimes fear sounds responsible. It sounds wise. It sounds protective. Sometimes it sounds exactly like your own voice. It whispers and it tells you something must be wrong. They're leaving. You better prepare yourself. Don't get too happy. Don't trust this or that. Protect yourself. And because it sounds like us, we believe it. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that fear doesn't always tell the truth. Fear definitely lies. It tells stories. Sometimes those stories are based on yesterday instead of today. I've had moments where I realized I wasn't reacting to what was actually happening. I was reacting to what had happened before. Old pain, old disappointment, old heartbreak, old trauma. My mind wasn't just looking at the present. It was trying to protect me from my past. And while protection is important, sometimes protection becomes a prison. Sometimes we become so busy preparing for pain that we forget to enjoy peace. Sometimes we're waiting for the other shoe to drop instead of appreciating the ground we're standing on. Sometimes fear convinces us that every silence means rejection. Every delay means abandonment. Every unanswered question means the worst. But does it? Not always. I've had to ask myself some hard questions here lately. How many moments have I worried away? How many conversations have I replayed in my head that never actually happened? How many blessings have I struggled to enjoy because I was too busy preparing for them to end? How many good things almost passed me by because fear convinced me they were dangerous? That question has challenged me. Those questions have challenged me because fear doesn't just keep us from bad things. Sometimes fear keeps us from fully experiencing the good things God places in our lives. Fear can rob us of joy before joy even has a chance to settle in. It can cause us to misread people, situations, ourselves. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about blaming fear for everything. I'm not saying that at all. This isn't about blaming other people either. I'm not pointing fingers today. The only finger I'm pointing is at myself. Because while I can't change what happened to me, I can learn from it. I can become more aware of my triggers. I can recognize when my past is trying to narrate my present. And I can choose little by little to respond differently. That doesn't happen overnight. Healing rarely does. I've also learned that depression doesn't always look like crying. Sometimes depression looks like isolation. Sometimes it looks like exhaustion. Sometimes it looks like smiling while you're falling apart inside. Sometimes it looks like not having enough energy to even answer a text or not feeling like making or taking a phone call or even completing a simple task. If that's where you are, please hear me. There is no shame in saying that you're struggling. There is strength in telling the truth. And there's also hope. I've learned that healing isn't pretending fear doesn't exist. Healing is recognizing when fear is holding the microphone and you gently take it back. Healing is asking yourself, is this really happening right now? Or is this my past trying to protect me from something that isn't actually happening? Healing is understanding that triggers may explain some of our reactions, but they don't have to write the rest of our story. Healing is learning that I don't have to solve my entire life right now today. I don't have to conquer every fear today. I don't have to have every answer today. I just have to live today. And maybe that's enough. Maybe healing isn't one giant breakthrough. Maybe healing is choosing peace one decision at a time, one prayer at a time, one conversation at a time, one breath at a time, one day at a time. If you took the time to listen to me today and you too have been battling fear, if you've been battling anxiety, if you've been battling depression, if you're grieving, if you're carrying trauma, I want you to know something. You aren't alone. You aren't weak. You aren't broken. You aren't beyond hope. Your story is still being written. I'm going to say that again because I'm saying it to myself as well. Your story is still being written. Fear may have had a chapter. Trauma may have had a chapter. Depression may have had a chapter, but they don't have to write the ending. So today, take a step, make that phone call, go for a walk, pray that prayer and ask God to help you. Ask for help from someone close to you if you need it. Check on your strong friends and don't be afraid to tell somebody if you're not okay, because healing doesn't usually happen all at once. It happens one ordinary day at a time. I want to thank you for sitting with me today. This one was personal. It was a little bit long and maybe a little bit deep. And trust me, I will go deeper because I know that nobody can tell my story better than me. And I know that there are so many people who need to hear my story, and it may help someone who's in the same situation, a similar situation, or it may help somebody avoid the situation. But if my story helps even one person understand they're not alone, then every word has been worth it. Until next time, take care of yourself, speak life, and remember, don't let fear hold the microphone. See you the next time. Love y'all to life.